And for the listeners, really, what would be the benefit of aspecting a goddess?
It's purely optional, right? It's like any other ritual tool. What's the benefit of trance? What's the benefit of grounding? I mean, that's pretty essential, actually. What's the benefit of, divination? What's the benefit of anything? If you're called to it, people often have like quite an intimate and current relationship with the deity that they are going to aspect. So it's not usually like that you're aspecting some deity that you know nothing about or that you just met yesterday. But usually it is in service to the ritual. So, of course, people might want to learn it just for their own like joy and pleasure and whatever. And I just taught a weekend on it. But usually, well, I don't know, maybe everyone's doing it in their backyards right now and I just don't even know about it. In my experience, I have mainly met this in rituals where they say, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to have the goddess Bridget in aspect at the altar in this part of the ritual? Or wouldn't it be great to have not just the story of Eve and the serpent, but to have them in aspect as part of the ritual and see what their interaction is? And this is a ritual with 10, 50, 100, whatever, a number of people there who are helping to hold and contain that energy. And it is in service of the ritual. So it's not so much like, oh, I really want to aspect, let's put that in the ritual. It's really like, oh, in service of this ritual, it would be great for someone to hold this aspect. And then, of course, there's the backyard aspecting, which, as I say, could be happening 10,000 homes right this minute.
It's an interesting experience. Definitely worthwhile. Yeah. Fascinating. But, so there are specific goddesses in that book too.
Yes.
And again, I'm assuming they came to you. Waving at you.
Some of them I may have caught it. But sometimes people come to you, or relationships or goddesses or whatever they are, come to you kind of unbidden, One of the goddesses in that book is Freya. And I personally had never had much interest in Norse mythology beyond reading Norse myths as a child and maybe a bit later. But Freya was chosen as the story, Freya's necklace was chosen as a story by a witch camp that I was teaching at. And so these things just came together and I was like, okay, Freya then. And Freya became, like one of my best beloveds, really. So sometimes they're chosen for us. There are 12 what I call long-form stories of goddesses in that book. And the idea with each story was that the myth or story of the goddess would be woven one way or another with my own story of my experience working magically and ritually and personally with that particular deity. And sometimes the stories are woven like together very much, and sometimes I tell a part of the myth and then tell my own story in connection with it, or the other way around. And they are, 12 of my best beloveds in the deity realm. I did try to make sure there was kind of a cross-section between different mythologies and pantheons, but I didn't put anyone in who I didn't already have a strong former relationship with.
Yeah. No, that's a brilliant book as well. Absolutely.
Aspecting the Goddess is a book that I waited a long, long time to write. I kind of had it in me for a long time. I don't know if you have books like this, and I was just waiting. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting for a number of factors. And they finally, they all came together. And I was like, okay, this is the book. And I pitched it to Moon Books very precisely and very definitely. And this is the book. And I wasn't going to negotiate on, maybe it's sort of more this book. I was like, no, this is the book. And yeah, I felt it was an unusual book with, for a start, to have that mix of mythologies, but then to go in depth into each of them so much. I feel like, there's plenty of books that kind of touch lightly on many myths. There's plenty of books that are devoted to one myth, but it's just really personal. I think it's my most personal book, really.
Yeah.
In that way.
I love that book too.
Thank you. And like all my books, it still contains a series of exercises and processes and practices and rituals that the reader can, if they wish, do with different ways of relating to deity. There's kind of 6 different approaches to relating to deity in that book, and 2 stories for each. And I think maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 practices for each of those.
So if we move on from the goddesses, if they don't mind.
I mean, you can't really escape them, can you?